14 human skeletons in terrifying poses. Worse than horror movies. Even top scientists can't explain. Hello, welcome to the Ancient History Channel. Dear friends, do you believe that in the world of archaeology, there are still mysteries so baffling that even top scientists are left speechless? Just hearing the title gives you goosebumps, doesn't it? But this time, we're not talking about horror movies or ghost stories. We're talking about 14 real skeletons that have been discovered, and the scary part is that they were found in bizarre, almost unbelievable positions. Imagine this. You're stepping into an ancient tomb, and in front of you are skeletons that aren't just intact but contorted, twisted as if resisting death itself, or sometimes lying on their backs, faces turned upward, eyes staring at the ceiling as if screaming without a sound. Each posture is different, but overall, they all create a chilling feeling that makes your heart skip a beat. What puzzles scientists even more is that no theory can fully explain why these people died in such positions. Was it a strange burial custom or a warning from the past that we still cannot understand? In today's video, let's explore the story behind each of these 14 eerie skeletons. And believe me, some of the images will make you take a second look at least twice. Now let's begin with the first skeleton. The skeleton in a forgotten jail cell in the heart of Paterson. Have you ever thought that in the middle of a bustling city where streetlights shine every night, a secret could remain buried for decades? If not, let today's video take you through a story that is both haunting and heartbreaking. The story of a skeleton discovered inside an abandoned building in Paterson, New Jersey. Once a busy police headquarters, the building now stands with its walls stained and worn by time. Yet inside it lies a truth that sends chills down anyone's spine. The building had been abandoned for over 35 years, ever since a fire in 1980. At the time, it had been used to hold criminals, a place that seemed to have closed the door on its past completely. But when the Greenbaum family, the current owners, prepared to sell the building, a horrifying discovery changed everything. While inspecting the old structure, they opened the area containing the jail cells and froze in shock. Right in the middle of a locked cell was a human skeleton. Not scattered bones, but a complete set of remains, lying as if the person had once been waiting for someone to open that door. What made the discovery even more terrifying was that the iron door had never been opened since the building was abandoned. Police immediately got involved, piecing together clues around the body. Near the skeleton, they found items aged and worn by time: an old bottle of water, a few yellowed prescription papers. These traces led to a heartbreaking hypothesis. This person may have lived in the cell for a long period, possibly up to 10 years, before eventually succumbing to exhaustion and dying in utter despair. At this point, you're probably asking yourself, how could someone end up in such a situation? The police suggested that the victim might have been homeless. Perhaps on a cold night, they found the abandoned building and saw it as a place of refuge. But tragically, upon entering the jail cell, the old iron door locked automatically, trapping them inside, with no one knowing and no one coming to help. Now imagine it, a cramped, dark space with no windows, no voices, just silence. A human being trapped between cold walls, day after day clinging to a faint hope, until life slowly slipped away in complete isolation. Just thinking about it is enough to send shivers down your spine. A 500-year-old skeleton found beneath London's sewer. If history often hides in the most unexpected places, then the recent discovery beneath a London sewer is living proof. During construction work on the drainage system in Bermondsey, right near the River Thames, workers unexpectedly uncovered an almost perfectly preserved human skeleton. What made everyone even more astonished was that the skeleton was dated to be around 500 years old, from the medieval period, a time when every discovery carries a long, untold story. The skeleton was found lying face down, as if the man had fallen at the exact spot where he took his last breath. This posture immediately sparked the curiosity of archaeologists, who asked themselves, what happened to him? Why was he lying in such an unusual position? And who was he during a time of great upheaval in England? To answer these questions, archaeologists began a detailed analysis of the remains and determined that the skeleton belonged to a man around 35 years old. But what made this discovery truly remarkable was not his age, but the tall leather boots he was still wearing. In the medieval period, footwear typically reached only up to the ankle, so finding boots this high was almost unprecedented. and experts realized they were looking at something extremely rare in past excavations. Beth Richardson, a specialist at MOLA, noted that the boots were more than just personal items. They offered clues about the man's life in the late 15th or early 16th century. She explained that she had never seen boots of this height before, suggesting that the man's work likely required protecting his feet while standing for long periods in wet, muddy, or cold conditions. From this, archaeologists hypothesized that he could have been a fisherman, a sailor, or even someone who dredged mud along the Thames searching for valuable objects. These occupations were closely tied to the river, and in the medieval period, the Thames was far from gentle. Its strong currents could sweep a person away in seconds, making the idea that the man died while working by the river very plausible. Interestingly, the skeleton showed no signs of serious injury. There were no cuts, no bruises, no evidence of a struggle. His death was likely sudden, silent, and left no mark. Over time, the river and mud may have buried him, preserving his body almost exactly as it was found by archaeologists today. This discovery occurred within the Tideway Sewer Project, a £4.2 billion initiative aimed at improving London's wastewater system. Ironically, while building a structure for the future, workers uncovered the remnants of a life from centuries past. Yet despite this, the reasons why the man was lying face down and why his body ended up in that exact location remain a mystery. We may never know the full story, but every clue, from his posture to his leather boots, helps shed light on the lives of medieval people who faced danger daily just to survive. And you? What do you think? Who was this man, and what story brought him to his quiet end along the Thames? Try to imagine. Sometimes it is your imagination that can bring history vividly to life. 7 blood-red skeletons, 2,500 years old, reveal China's mysterious burial customs. Did you know that in 2016, at the Jinsha archaeological site in Qingyang District, Chengdu, Sichuan Province, Chinese archaeologists made a discovery that stunned the entire research community? They uncovered 7 ancient tombs containing skeletons that were blood-red in color. Just hearing that might send shivers down your spine. But the real fascination lies in the fact that this strange red color is actually the key to unlocking a mysterious cultural story. If you've studied Chinese archaeology, you probably know that Jinsha is no ordinary site. It was one of the major cultural centers along the upper Yangtze River, existing from the 12th century BCE to the 7th century BCE. Discoveries here consistently provide invaluable insights into the lives, customs, and beliefs of the ancient people. And this time, 7 tombs from the Warring States period made archaeologists pause in awe. Each tomb had a unique shape and size, but what captured everyone's attention were the bright red skeletons inside. Not only that, these tombs contained rare burial objects such as swords, spears, and bronze artifacts, all symbols of power, status, and spiritual belief of the tomb owners. What amazed people the most, however, was the blood-red color covering the entire body. This red layer didn't just stop at the bones. It spread into the surrounding soil, creating a scene that was both brilliant and mysterious. The phenomenon was so unusual that experts had to spend a great deal of time examining and analyzing it. Eventually, they discovered that the red material was cinnabar, a mineral that humans have used for thousands of years. Cinnabar was not merely decorative, it held deep spiritual significance. Archaeologists believe that the ancient people applied cinnabar to the body to ensure rebirth after death, helping the deceased continue living in the afterlife. The red color, resembling blood, symbolized life, energy, and hope, a powerful belief in immortality and the cycles of life. Looking at these red skeletons, we not only witness extraordinary burial techniques, but also gain insight into how people of the Warring States period perceived death. They did not see death as an end, but as a transition, a continued journey of the soul. This belief inspired rituals that were both sophisticated and profound, which even after more than 2,500 years continue to amaze us today. That's why I boldly say that the discoveries at Jinsha not only expand our knowledge of ancient burial customs, but also spark curiosity about the thoughts, beliefs, and worldview of our ancestors regarding life and death. These vivid red skeletons, after millennia lying quietly beneath the earth, now tell a vivid story of a glorious era, of deep spiritual beliefs, and of humanity's yearning for eternity. I am certain that when you stand before these red skeletons, you will feel as though you've stepped through a time portal, seeing ancient souls and sensing their faith and hope in the other world. Perhaps it is precisely this magical connection between past and present that makes every archaeological discovery feel alive and deeply moving, don't you think? The red-haired giant skeleton in Lovelock Cave, Nevada. Every mountain and every stretch of land on Earth holds mysterious stories, but not every story comes with tangible evidence. However, the legend of giants in the Nevada desert is different. In a solitary cave deep within the arid mountains, there was said to exist a race of giants, at least according to the Paiute tribe, the indigenous people who lived around Humboldt Lake and the surrounding lands for more than 4,000 years. According to legend, in the early 20th century, guano miners were the first to discover the remains of these giant skeletons in and around Lovelock Cave. The Paiute tribe called these beings Site-Ka, or Tule eaters. The skeletons weren't just over 7.9 feet tall, towering over the Paiute and any other local people, but they also had red hair, an extremely rare trait for that geographic region and ethnic group. During excavation, miners also found many man-made artifacts, though unfortunately many were destroyed, lost, or sold. Still, discoveries in and around Lovelock Cave left a massive archaeological treasure. Over 10,000 artifacts collected by archaeologists over many years, proving that this area had once been a thriving settlement. The cave also revealed signs of fire and smoke, indicating that the site had been home to a community engaged in daily living, hunting, and tool-making. But the most astonishing aspect remained the size and biological features of the Site-Ka. At over 7.9 feet tall, they were undoubtedly real giants, raising countless unanswered questions. Where did they come from? Why did they have unusual red hair? And what led to their extinction? Paiute legend tells that the Site-Ka were cruel beings, often setting traps, kidnapping, and harming local tribes. One day, however, they became trapped in Lovelock Cave and gradually perished. These folklore accounts, along with the archaeological evidence, have sparked endless debates among scholars and locals alike. Some archaeologists remain skeptical, suggesting that the giant skeletons may have been exaggerated or misinterpretations of normal human remains. Yet, local legends persist that the Site-Ka once ruled the land. The story of the red-haired giants in Lovelock Cave is not just a legend. It is a vivid testament to how humans preserve history through oral tradition. It sparks curiosity about a vanished civilization, extraordinary physical beings, and the mysteries science still cannot fully explain. Standing before Lovelock Cave today, you can imagine the giant skeletons buried beneath the earth, piles of fire ash, tools of daily life, and even remnants of red hair. All of it serves as a reminder that the past never truly sleeps, and every legend, no matter how strange, may begin with a seed of truth. To this day, the questions remain. Did the Site-Ka really exist? Where did they come from, and why did they become extinct? These are mysteries that have persisted for over a century. But as you can see, it is precisely these questions that make the secrets of Lovelock Cave so compelling, where the past and legend meet in the most remarkable way. The mysterious woman skeleton on the 1,000-year-old Viking ghost ship on Senja Island. In every remote land, stories of the past often lie buried beneath layers of soil and rock, waiting for a chance hand to uncover them. Senja Island, located in northern Norway, is one such place. Here, archaeologists were recently presented with an unprecedented discovery, a Viking ship burial, also called a ghost ship, containing the skeleton of a mysterious woman who died over 1,000 years ago. Senja is far from an unknown territory. It once marked the northern boundary of the powerful Viking Empire, serving as a strategic fishing ground and a bustling trade hub for centuries. That is why the discovery of a noblewoman's ship burial on Senja in 2023, when local residents were expanding a garage, stunned the Arctic archaeological community and opened a journey into understanding the life, status, and mysteries surrounding this Viking woman. Interestingly, the first signs of the burial were not the ship itself, but two oval-shaped brooches and a few fragments of ribs peeking out from the soil. Seemingly small, these clues drew a team from the Arctic University Museum, who carefully excavated layer by layer to reveal a 17.7 feet long ghost ship, a dark imprint on the ground, like the shadow of a soul drifting across more than a millennium. Within that shadow lay the Viking woman's carefully interred skeleton. Beside her rested a loyal dog who had accompanied its owner to the afterlife, with no sign of sacrifice or coercion. A vivid testament to friendship and loyalty in Viking culture. The burial also contained numerous valuable grave goods: bone and amber beads, a round pendant, iron sickles, grindstones, and weaving tools made from whalebone. These items not only reflected her high social status, but also hinted at her occupation, suggesting she may have been a skilled weaver who contributed to the local economy around 900 to 950 AD. Her brooches, in particular, were more exquisite than any previously found, crafted with fine detail and silver inlay, indicating that only women of high social rank were buried with such a ceremonial display. Dr. Anja Roth-Niemi, who led the excavation team, emphasized that the ship burial was not merely a resting place, but a statement of identity, power, and value of the deceased. The research will continue with DNA analysis and skeletal studies to deepen understanding of the woman's true identity. Even from the remains uncovered so far, we can already imagine her life. A powerful Viking woman, living in a dynamic community, accompanied by a loyal companion and skilled in her craft, now continuing to tell her story through the layers of soil and archaeological evidence. The ship burial on Senja is not just an archaeological discovery, it is a whisper from history about a person who lived, loved, and wove her life together, and more than 1,000 years later, still commands attention, reflection, and awe. Each layer of soil opened is a living page of history, where past and present meet in this enigmatic Viking ghost ship. The skeletons of footless children from the Chimu civilization at an ancient temple in Peru. When people think of ancient civilizations in Peru, many immediately picture Machu Picchu or the vibrant pyramids of the Inca culture. But few know that in the Lambayeque region, there is an archaeological site called Chotuna Chornancap, with over 1,500 years of history, a place that once witnessed complex rituals and mysterious human stories. Recently, a team from the Peruvian Ministry of Culture shed new light on this enigmatic past when they discovered more than 13 skeletons dating back to the 15th and 16th centuries within the ruins of an ancient temple. Do you know what made archaeologists and history enthusiasts shiver? Among these skeletons were children missing their feet. While this may sound horrifying, it serves as vivid evidence of the complex sacrificial rituals once performed by the Chimu community. According to reports, the newly uncovered tombs belong to the Chimu civilization, which existed from 1100 to 1470 AD. 6 children were buried in pairs on the east, west, and north sides of the temple. Among them, 2 children buried on the west side had missing feet, sparking numerous hypotheses about their special role in religious ceremonies. The mysteries do not stop there. Beyond the children's skeletons, evidence of human sacrifice was also found among adults, including men and women who were buried in narrow, elongated pits. These findings invite reflection on the Chimu people's beliefs, religion, and understanding of the supernatural and the act of sacrifice. At the center of the cemetery, archaeologists discovered a particularly notable skeleton of a man buried alongside 2 clay vessels, one depicting a coquero, a coca leaf chewer, and the other showing a man standing and smiling. This creates a vivid yet haunting image of their daily life and spiritual beliefs. The Chotuna Chornancap Temple and Pyramid Complex also includes the tomb of a Chornancap nun from the 13th century, a woman who held a position of authority within Lambayeque culture. She was buried with 8 others: copper masks, elaborate jewelry, ceramic offerings, and a golden scepter engraved with the Lambayeque deity. These artifacts not only indicate her power and importance, but also reveal how the community organized rituals, honored deities, and conducted spiritual customs. Each discovery at Chotuna Chornancap acts as a piece of the puzzle, transporting us back in time to better understand the lives, beliefs, and even the chilling practices of ancient people. The footless children, the adult sacrifices, and the intricate ceremonial objects show that this temple was not merely a place of ordinary worship, but a religious center where divine power, human authority, and the fear of death were intertwined in complex ways. Standing among these ruins, one can feel the strange intersection of the past's silence and haunting stories, where every brick, every ceramic vessel, and every skeleton tells its own tale, a tale that only careful observation can partially reveal. Chotuna Chornenkap is more than an archaeological site. It is a doorway to the past, prompting us to ask, how would we perceive human life, death, and belief if we could return hundreds of years ago? A 2,000-year-old blood-red skeleton from the Vesuvius catastrophe. When people talk about the most terrifying natural disasters in human history, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD immediately comes to mind. In a single outburst of nature's fury, the ancient Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum, along with several surrounding towns, were completely buried. But few people realize that archaeologists digging in the volcanic soil have uncovered remains that are even more chilling than the famous plaster casts of Pompeii. The most striking of these is a vivid blood-red skeleton, nearly 2,000 years old. The skeleton belongs to a man who is around 40 to 45 years old, one of thousands of victims claimed by the Vesuvius disaster. Even today, the scene is haunting. Red-hot ash and rivers of lava swallowed everything in their path. People were frozen in place like living statues, some caught mid-flight, others still at work, many trapped inside their homes. Herculaneum, located right on the coast, was not spared either. It was there, on the ancient shoreline, that this extraordinary red skeleton was discovered. Experts believe the man was either desperately trying to escape the eruption or was a soldier who had come to rescue civilians. What makes these remains truly unique and downright eerie is their intense crimson color. That red doesn't come from paint, ceramics, or any artificial substance. It comes from the man's own blood. His death was horrific. While trying to flee, a collapsing wooden roof beam struck his head and shattered his skull. Moments later, the extreme heat from the pyroclastic surge and falling ash instantly entombed his body. The intense temperature boiled and then dried his blood, leaving it baked onto the bones like a natural, macabre dye. This blood-red skeleton is more than just gruesome evidence of a catastrophe. It opens a window into life and death in the ancient Roman world. It tells a story of pain, terror, and the faint glimmer of hope in a person's final seconds. You can almost feel the desperate human struggle against an unstoppable force of nature. The more you learn about Herculaneum, the clearer it becomes that this isn't just another archaeological site. Every skeleton and every artifact unearthed there carries its own silent story, like pages from a 2,000-year-old diary of the dead. This particular red skeleton stands alone in time, inspiring both horror and awe. It forces us to ask, if we had been standing on that beach in Herculaneum on that fateful day, would we have made it out? Or would we too have become part of the permanent memory under the volcanic ash? That's why the skeleton is so much more than an archaeological treasure. It also showcases the power of modern forensic science and medicine. Thanks to today's technology, researchers have been able to determine the man's age, sex, and exact cause of death, and even recreate the eruption in stunning 3D models. This is a remarkable intersection of history, science, and raw human emotion that lets us literally touch an event from almost 2 millennia ago without needing a time machine. When we look at that blood-red skeleton, we can't help but shudder. Yet we're also drawn into a story of survival, sacrifice, and the terrifying destructive power of nature. It reminds us that no matter how strong or advanced we become, we remain small and fragile in the face of the natural world. And it is precisely these preserved bones, these patches of dried crimson, that have etched an indelible chapter into history, one that still leaves the whole world speechless and chilled to the bone, doesn't it? The skeleton in the refrigerator in India. Would you believe me if I told you that in an abandoned house, left untouched for 2 decades, there was a mystery so chilling that it sent shivers through an entire community? Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet, on January 6th, Indian police revealed just such a shocking discovery in an abandoned home near Chotanekara in Ernakulam district. They found a human skeleton, including a skull and bones, strangely preserved inside a refrigerator. At this point, you can probably feel the eerie and unbelievable nature of the story, right? The house sits on a large private property, locked up and abandoned for many years. Its remote, deserted location meant almost no one paid attention. But it was precisely this abandonment that concealed a horrifying secret. When police from Chotanekara station received a tip, a team of experts and officers conducted a thorough search. What they found inside the quiet house was beyond their expectations. A skeleton lying inside a refrigerator, a scene both haunting and baffling. What intrigued and terrified people the most was why the skeleton had not been buried or discarded, but instead stored in a fridge. Who did this? Why? Who was the victim? And under what circumstances did they die? These questions remain unanswered, and it is this mystery that makes the case so sensational, capturing public attention. Local authorities have now launched a detailed investigation, meticulously examining the house and surrounding land to uncover any clues that might reveal the truth. Forensic experts and investigators are working to identify the victim, determine their age, sex, and time of death. But so far, information remains limited. It is this uncertainty that makes the story even more haunting, like a mystery time has yet to reveal. Looking at the images of the abandoned house, countless theories come to mind. Could this be an undiscovered murder? A case connected to superstition? Or a horrifying act meant to store a human skeleton in a refrigerator? All of this remains speculation, as no official evidence has been released. The Crowned Beauty's skeleton, over 1,000 years intact in an ancient Chinese tomb. The story began like any other ordinary workday at the foot of Turkey Mountain in Tongliao City, Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, China. A group of quarry workers, while moving stones, happened upon an unusual red rock. At first, no one realized it was the sign of a millennium-old mystery. Yet that very rock led archaeologists to an ancient tomb, where a woman wearing a golden crown had been laid to rest. A discovery that stunned the scholarly world. The tomb dates back to the Liao dynasty, roughly between 905 and 1125 AD. From the outside, it resembled nothing more than a stone house, about 98 feet long, buried over 33 feet beneath the ground. Inside, a cedar wood coffin appeared, modest in size but exuding solemnity. The coffin measured approximately 4.9 feet in height, 8.5 feet in width, and 8 inches in depth. When the lid was opened, experts were astonished. The woman's skeleton was remarkably well preserved, untouched by grave robbers for over 1,000 years. She lay on her back, a shimmering golden crown on her head, her body wrapped in thick silk fabric, resting on a faded metallic pillow. The coffin itself was adorned with intricately carved phoenixes, symbols of power and nobility. Through careful study, archaeologists determined that the woman had died between the ages of 30 and 35 and likely hailed from the royal family. Yet her identity remained a mystery. No artifacts or texts inside the tomb recorded her name, making it extremely difficult to confirm her lineage. However, based on historical context and surrounding artifacts, some experts speculated that she could be the daughter of Empress Shulu Ping, the wife of Emperor Taizu of Liao, the first emperor of the Khitan people in ancient China. To confirm this hypothesis, specialists conducted DNA testing, and the results were truly astonishing. The skeleton was indeed genetically related to Emperor Taizu of Liao. This meant that the crowned woman was Princess Yu Lu Du Ge, the emperor's sister, a figure previously known only from sparse historical records. This discovery is not just a milestone in archaeology, it also opens a vivid window into royal life during the Liao dynasty. Every layer of silk, every carving on the coffin, every chance-discovered red stone tells a story, inviting us on a journey into a past that spans over a millennium. Can you imagine it? A single red stone led to the unearthing of an ancient royal princess, lying silent beneath the earth for more than 1,000 years. What seemed like an ordinary moment became a doorway through time, connecting the present with mysteries long untold. This is precisely why archaeology is so captivating. In every layer of soil, beneath every stone, there is a story waiting to be discovered. A 6,000-year-old skeleton found intact at a construction site. At a construction site in Brazil, archaeologists discovered 2 human skeletons dating back as much as 6,000 years, remarkably well preserved. The skeletons were found along BR 470 in the municipality of Ilhota in Santa Catarina, Brazil, a location that was once an island in a lagoon and home to ancient tribes during prehistoric times. What makes this discovery particularly astonishing is the preservation of the skeletons, especially the skulls, legs, and teeth, providing scientists with a detailed view of life during that era. The discovery was made in May when construction workers were expanding the road. After being transported to the Beta Analytics Laboratory in Florida, the skeletons were dated to approximately 5,880 years ago. According to archaeologist Valdir Louise Schwengber, who directed the excavation, the skeletons were buried only about 2 feet below the surface, suggesting that the area was isolated, lacking water, and unlikely to support long-term habitation. Therefore, scientists believe this site may have served as a burial ground for ancient peoples. Evidence collected from the site indicates that the ancient inhabitants primarily relied on river and lagoon resources for food, especially fish species such as catfish, flounder, and snapper. The small size of the fish suggests that they were mostly juveniles caught in shallow waters, offering important insight into the subsistence strategies of the region's ancient communities. The study also uncovered clues related to the Jiquabu tribes, one of the ancient groups living in Brazil around 10,000 years ago. These tribes were likely part of a migratory wave of hunters moving from Asia to the Americas via the Bering Strait, bringing with them specialized hunting and fishing techniques and distinct cultural practices. However, little is known about these cultures because they left no written records or permanent agricultural sites, and European colonization nearly obliterated their traditions. Currently, multidisciplinary researchers from fields including biology, archaeology, and history are continuing to study the skeletons to gain a deeper understanding of the ancient tribes' settlement and subsistence along the Santa Catarina coast. Some experts even suggest that this discovery could shed light on the lives of early Amazonian communities, where roughly 1,500 villages existed around 1,250 BCE, nearly two-thirds of which remain undiscovered. With the growing wealth of discoveries, there is hope that the site where the skeletons were found will be preserved and developed as an educational location, providing future generations with a profound understanding of the long and rich history of Brazil's indigenous peoples. A mountain of skeletons in a 5,000-year-old house in China. Archaeologists have recently uncovered 97 skeletons inside a small house dating back 5,000 years, located in an ancient village in northeastern China. Evidence suggests that the remains of both adults and children from prehistoric times were piled together inside the house before it was burned down. The archaeological site where the house was discovered, now known as Haman Mangha, was established before written language appeared in the region, during a period when humans lived in small settlements, surviving through a combination of agriculture and hunting. In addition to the skeletons, archaeologists found numerous ancient pottery shards, grinding tools, arrowheads, and spear tips. These artifacts have provided valuable insights into the lifestyle of the ancient inhabitants. Haman Mangha is considered the largest and most well-preserved prehistoric settlement in northeastern China. During an excavation that took place from April to November 2011, archaeologists identified the foundations of 29 houses. Most were simple, single-room structures with a single entrance and a fireplace. The house containing the skeletons, designated F40, measured just over 215 square feet. Archaeologists reported finding many skeletons scattered inside the house. Those located in the northwest corner were relatively intact, while skeletons in the east corner often consisted only of skulls, with few limb bones remaining. In the southern corner, leg and arm bones were stacked in layers up to 7.5 inches deep, forming a jumbled pile. At some point, the entire house was set on fire. The flames caused the wooden roof beams to collapse, burning and deforming some of the skulls and limb bones. However, many of the remaining skeletons survived the fire and have remained intact for 5,000 years, allowing scientists today to study them. So what happened to these people? A team of anthropologists at Jilin University in China is investigating the skeletons to determine the cause of death. Recently, the team published a report in the Jilin University Weekly, presenting their findings. According to the study, the people in the house appear to have died from a prehistoric disaster, possibly a disease, which resulted in their bodies being stacked together. It seems the number of deaths was so great and so rapid that the survivors could not bury them all. Archaeologists found that about half of the skeletons belonged to individuals aged 19 to 35, with no remains of older adults. The age range of these victims is similar to those discovered at other prehistoric mass burial sites, such as Miaozigu, also in northeastern China. This similarity suggests that the disaster at Haman Mangha may have been caused by the same catastrophic event as those at Miaozigu, possibly a widespread epidemic at the time. Of course, this is still an initial hypothesis. The true cause of this prehistoric tragedy remains a significant mystery. 2,000-year-old children's remains found in burial jars. On November 22, 2024, a team of Chinese archaeologists made headlines in the scientific community when they announced the discovery of 128 children's remains, carefully buried in jars according to an ancient funerary ritual. This discovery took place in the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, where experts not only unearthed the children's remains, but also found numerous coins, pottery, and floor tiles during the excavation. Archaeologists believe that these children lived during the Han Dynasty, which lasted from 202 BCE to 220 CE, a period when burial customs and funerary rituals were markedly different from those of today. During the Han period, ancient people did not cremate children. Instead, they used jars to inter their remains. According to the experts, some jars contained a single skeleton, while in other cases, multiple jars were used together to form a protective house that shielded the children's souls from the forces of nature. From a modern perspective, burying children in jars may seem unusual. However, researchers emphasize that this practice was not fundamentally different from the use of coffins in contemporary funerary customs. Lam Wenchong, a specialist at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, explained, "Cremation appeared relatively late in ancient China, especially after the Han Dynasty. Some burials were cremated as early as the Bronze Age, but in the Central Plains, this practice appeared much later. This helps explain why the children's remains were not cremated before being placed in the jars. There was also a practical reason why jar burials became widespread. Building a traditional Han-style tomb was a significant financial burden. In a society with high child mortality, constructing an elaborate tomb with multiple chambers filled with items for the afterlife, as was common during the Han period, was impossible for ordinary families. For poorer households, using jars was a practical and affordable alternative. Of course, jar burials were not unique to ancient China. In 2012, archaeologists in Tamil Nadu, southern India, discovered burial jars dating from 1800 to 1500 BCE, even earlier than the Inner Mongolia finds. In July 2024, experts in Budapest, Hungary, also uncovered urns containing cremated remains dated between 2200 and 1450 BCE, showing that this practice was not limited to China, but was present in multiple ancient cultures worldwide. These discoveries not only expand our understanding of ancient funerary rituals, but also spark curiosity about how past societies protected the souls of the deceased. If I told you that each jar contained not only human remains, but also a fragment of history and an untold story of children who passed away long ago, would you believe me? Or think I was exaggerating? Headless human remains. Archaeologists have unearthed human remains in a sacrificial pit at the Chaizhuang archaeological site in Jiyuan, Henan Province, China. This burial pit dates back to the Shang Dynasty, between 1600 and 1046 BCE. What makes the discovery particularly remarkable is that the skeleton had been decapitated and buried in a kneeling position, facing north, with both arms crossed in front. The skeleton is relatively well preserved, arranged in a posture resembling the character Kan found in oracle bone inscriptions. Oracle bone script is an early form of Chinese writing, carved onto turtle shells and animal bones. It represents the earliest complete system of Chinese characters in the country. Studies of oracle bone inscriptions excavated at Yin ruins indicate that sacrificial rituals were widespread during the Shang Dynasty. Pictographs such as Shi, Tan, and Kan were used to describe different sacrificial practices. Specifically, Kan depicts the ritual sacrifice of humans, livestock, or poultry in burial pits. Most human sacrificial remains discovered to date have been found in a lying posture. However, based on the information in the oracle bone script, experts suggest that the Kan-style sacrifice, burial in a kneeling position, may have been a more common practice during that period. This is a detail that few people may know, and it is likely to surprise anyone learning about it. The remains of Marcus Secundio illuminate Pompeii's culture. In the world of archaeology, sometimes a discovery that seems small can shake the scholarly community, and the story of Marcus Venerius Secundio is a perfect example. At the Porta Sarno Cemetery in Italy, archaeologists recently unearthed the remains of a man around 60 years old. What astonished everyone was the near-perfect preservation of his skeleton. Not only were the bones intact, but traces of hair and even the ears remained on the skull, suggesting that partial embalming techniques were applied with remarkable skill. What makes this find even more intriguing is that the tomb dates to several decades before Pompeii was destroyed by Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE. In the context of Pompeii, where cremation was the common funerary practice for adults, Secundio's intact burial is highly unusual, indicating the significant social and economic status he had achieved. Inside the tomb, experts discovered not only well-preserved remains, but also a small glass urn engraved with the name of a woman, Novia Amabilis, believed to be Marcus Secundio's wife. Though simple in appearance, the urn provides an important clue about his family life and personal relationships within ancient Pompeii society. Secundio's story, however, goes far beyond his burial. Before his death, he played a key role managing the Temple of Venus in Pompeii. After being freed from slavery, he joined the Augustales, a prestigious social order responsible for conducting religious rituals and managing charitable funds in the city. His burial in a proper tomb, along with the artifacts discovered inside, reflects the considerable wealth and social standing Secundio had attained. Another detail that particularly caught the attention of archaeologists was a Greek inscription engraved on a marble slab atop the tomb. The text recorded performances at the Pompeii Theater, serving both as evidence of his wealth and as a window into Secundio's refined taste in the arts and cultural knowledge. Through this, we can glimpse the elite, culturally rich, and influential life within Pompeii at the time. Overall, Marcus Secundio's remains are not just an archaeological find. They open a vivid window into the life, culture, and society of Pompeii before the volcanic disaster struck. From the engraved urn of his wife to the remnants of hair and the Greek inscription on the marble slab, each detail tells its own story, inviting us to embark on a journey into a past more than 2,000 years old. Secundio's remains are a clear testament that even amid the catastrophic power of Vesuvius, culture and history preserve precious moments. Finds like this remind us that the past is never truly silent, it simply waits to be revealed, telling the story of human life, power, and art from a long-lost era. So we've just taken a look at 14 unusual skeletons, with eerie postures that even scientists haven't been able to fully explain. Each skeleton is not just an artifact, it's a story from the past, filled with untold mysteries and surprising ancient burial customs. Perhaps it's the unexplained nature of these finds that makes them so haunting. If you're curious and want to explore more mysteries like these, don't miss the upcoming videos. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell next to it. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.